Welcome to another episode of Scouting 5, recapping scouting news from around the world for the week of March 8th, 2021. I'm Scouter Ken, and I am once again recording from St. Albert, Alberta. First up, an apology. It's been at least, I know I missed last week. Did I miss the week before? I can't actually remember. It's been a crazy few weeks in my life, and so I haven't been as diligent about keeping up with the Scouting 5 episodes as I might otherwise have been, and I apologize for that. At the same time, I also apologize for the brevity of this episode. There's only 3 stories to cover today, but you know what? This actually is a good opportunity, I think, to sort of change up the format a little bit. It's still going to be, a recap story by story, discussing the particulars of the story, and of course there'll always be a link in the show notes for you to check out. But I think I might try and make this a little bit more conversational. Still going to just be me doing these episodes, but it's probably going to read a little bit less like I'm reading copy and more like I'm trying to discuss the story with, well, you. With that in mind, let's get to the first one today. So this first one comes to us from the Scouts of Luxembourg. The Luxembourgish Scouts, that's a heck of a name, I gotta say. I've been slowly building up the archive of tags on the new Podpage-based website, trying to make sure that I've got each scouting organization that I mention in the news tagged so that, you can see other stories related to them when you view these episodes. And, Luxembourgish Scouts, that's cool. Anyways, both of their National Scout Associations actually have won a European Citizens Prize for 2020. If you've never heard of that before, this is a award recognition given by the European Parliament for outstanding achievements in promoting European values and unity. And of course, the dominant story of 2020 was the coronavirus pandemic. And indeed, the award was bestowed in large part because of the efforts that the Scouts in Luxembourg undertook since the outbreak of the pandemic. This has included offering a range of emergency services to their community. If people needed grocery shoppers, or if people needed errands run, or if people needed dogs walked, or even pharmacy trips, for necessary medications and other daily tasks, the Scouts made themselves available to help out. And there were evidently over 900 Scouts that wound up fulfilling around 6,500, maybe more, different tasks and opportunities to help out citizens in Luxembourg. They also evidently delivered over 40,000 handmade masks to around 50 different social organizations across the country. We may have mentioned some of that. I know there were some scouting organizations that got into mask making, and I know we covered a few of them on Scouting 5. I can't remember if Luxembourg was one of them. At any rate, very, very worthy effort, very, very deserving of recognition. So it's cool to see that the Scouts of Luxembourg were recognized by the European Parliament for stepping up and helping out their communities during the crazy, crazy year that was 2020. And, well, I guess actually technically the UK is not part of Europe anymore, is it? But keeping on that side of the Atlantic, there has been a significant row, a significant bit of public outcry over the closure of a campsite used by brownies and Scouts. And the big drive, so the camp that was closed was called, I believe, Chigwell Row. Yeah, Chigwell Row campsite. It was evidently a very popular campsite used often by brownies and Scouts and guides and all sorts of scouting and Girl Guide, Girl Scouting organizations across the UK. Very well known. Chigwell Row is also distinguished by being the only site of its kind. It's evidently quite local to London. Green space is, of course, a tricky thing to find sometimes in London. And so having campsites like Chigwell, which is evidently, sort of within the inner boroughs of London, presents an opportunity for Scouts, especially in the London region, to, experience the camp experience. Bit of a cumbersome way of putting that, I guess, but there it is. Without, of course, having to travel significantly outside of the London area. Chigwell Row, by the way, is also the only site of its kind that has really great accessibility features for disabled people. It was evidently awarded a community infrastructure levy a few years back to build out that capacity, that capability. Now, as I understand it, the camp is actually operated by the Girl Guides. And despite the fact that the camp evidently has had around £1 million in its financial reserves, it has been released, which will, of course, mean its closure. And this after amassing losses of around £150,000 over the course of 2020, due, again, to pandemic-related closure. There's actually another campsite nearby, well, not all that nearby, but it's in Kent, but Cutham Shaw's, Sevenoaks, is this other camp, and it is also evidently going to be closed. There was an online petition put together on as soon as news of the closure broke, and it amassed around 3,000 signatures in 24 hours. The big objection, of course, being that this closure was just announced and evidently is proceeding. There was no public consultation or anything like that. And often you do see public consultation accompanying these sorts of things, right? We have that in Scouts Canada too, where, every time Scouts Canada is reviewing its properties, we Scouters and, scouting families will get emails and surveys and such like. So that is really quite a shame. Unfortunately, I personally kind of doubt that they are going to be able to, that the petition and, the community are going to be able to save the camp and, see it reopened. Property management is a huge expense for any scouting organization, any guiding organization. And once these things are, let go of, they are usually let go of and they're not coming back. That said, it is unfortunate that this particular case sees, a property being lost without apparently any consultation of membership of, those organizations that made regular use of the camp. And that is unfortunately going to have a very negative impact on the ability of Girl Guides and Sparks, Brownies, Scouts, Cubs in the Greater London area to experience at-camp adventures, at least without having to travel a more significant distance now. And coming back to this side of the Atlantic for our last bit of news, we've followed the stories of various female Eagle Scouts because, of course, we're starting to see young women attain the Eagle rank in Scouts BSA. Of course, Scouts BSA opened its ranks to female membership across all of its sections in February of 2019. So it's been a couple of years now that this has been ongoing. And, I've definitely covered the stories of different young women, just they've popped up in the news here and there, who have attained or are on the cusp of attaining the Eagle rank, including Sydney Ireland, who was sort of the main advocate for female membership in Scouts BSA, Boy Scouts of America, for several years prior to 2019. I didn't realize just how much uptake there had been in the program, because as of last month, about 1,000 young women have attained the Eagle Scouts rank in Scouts BSA. Now, just on a whim, I went looking into numbers, and of course, this is a little bit tricky because, of course, the best numbers I can find are a couple of years backdated now. On average, for about the last decade, or at least from, about 2010 to 2018, the average number of Scouts that has attained the Eagle rank is around 5-ish%. It's been on an upward trend lately. It was, 2010, it was kind of in the 4% range, and it's actually gotten a little bit higher, almost into the 6, nearly 7% range now. Eagle is not widely attained by Scouts. It never has been. It is, the top rank, and there's a lot of effort that goes into it, and a goodly number of Scouts do not achieve the rank. So over the last almost decade, it's been, like I say, around that 5.7, I think, percent. And as of 2018, there were 77,000 girls registered in Scouts BSA. Now, unfortunately, what I wasn't able to find, at least in time for this recording, is sort of a more granular breakdown, because, of course, that would encompass the Cub Scouting program and it's many, many years, which, of course, Eagle wouldn't count towards that. And then it would also include the scouting program. That number may also actually include, what do they call it? Explorers, I think. The other program that Scouts BSA offers. So I don't know exactly how many of that 77,000 are Scouts, and therefore, would be in that pool of young women eligible to attain the Eagle rank. One thing I did find that was interesting, though, was that from the founding of Boy Scouts of America in 1912, it actually took about 6.5 years before the first 1,000 young men had attained the Eagle rank. maybe I'll throw a link in an article from Scouting Magazine that I found with the exact numbers. But like in 1912, there were 23 Eagle Scouts, for example. 1913, there were 54. So from the founding of Boy Scouts of America, it took 7 years before, well, 6.5 roughly, before about 1,000 young men had attained the Eagle rank. It took 2 for 1,000 young women to attain the Eagle rank. So that, in and of itself, is a really quite impressive number, I think. And, congratulations to all of these young women who are able to participate in the scouting program in the United States and who have evidently, just hit the ground running, brought a ton of drive, and have attained so much, including now the Eagle Scout rank. Well done, all of you. And that is all the news I have for you this week. So thank you again for listening, and until next time, be prepared.